Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hey, beautifuls. It's time for a beautiful life. I am your host, Katrina Henderson, the owner and creator for Unbreakable Memories. And hello, my name is Beautiful. We are seem to be having some technical difficulties with one of my guests. My other one is feeling under the weather, so it will just be me tonight. So I'm going to thank you in advance. I we're gonna move forward. We're gonna move forward. So tonight's topic um started out on my um my journey of discovering what it is about water and why I was having issues drinking my water, right? My trainer has me, we're supposed to be drinking water. I know I'm supposed to be drinking water. My health coaches are telling me I'm supposed to be drinking water. However, right, I wasn't drinking water. And I can't tell you why. I couldn't tell you, hey, beautifuls, I couldn't tell you what it was, right? But in a conversation with one of my health coaches, Tiffany Child of see, well, wait a minute, let me stop. Let's see, hold on. Is she here? There she go. Hey, beautiful. I'm glad you made it. You good?
I'm good. Can
Okay.
you
Well,
hear me
thank you.
okay?
I'm good. Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining me. So I have what she considers to be the better half of Teen Childs with me tonight. Hey, Tiffany.
Hey, Katrina.
So I'm starting because um you know my struggle with water, right? And how um I hear you all the time, drink the water, like add this, add that, do this, do that. It just wasn't. And you asked me a question on why, and for me to sit and dig deep with that, right? So I heard it. A couple weeks go by, right? I'm in the No More Excuses intensive, like we're wrapping up the intensive. And there was a conversation that had come up, during I think the last or second to last of the sessions. And we started talking about grace, right? And I realized that I cannot have any more excuses when it comes to me and my drinking water. Like I would say, well, I don't like the taste of it. It's too much. I'm tired of running back and forth to the bathroom. Whatever it was, I was giving excuses, right? And so I can't encourage other beautiful women to give up their excuses if I couldn't give up my own. So I sat with the assignment that you had given me about water. And when I tell you God met me in that, I was completely blown away from what I'm going to share tonight. But here's so I went to Google, right, and trying to figure it out. Like I know the health benefits of water, like it's supposed to be good for you, and flushes the organs, it does this and does that. But there was still a disconnect that my mind was having because it's something that I know is supposed to be good for me. How come I have that struggle with water? And I know I'm not alone. So if y'all are listening, leave some comments on kind of like what you do to get past it. But I started seeing, right, the benefits of water, how water was used in the Bible. Like God used water in so many different examples, right? On us getting different messages and Him just connecting with everything. That I realized that water is a gateway, right, to everything I desire. Because the way water flows is the way that we are supposed to flow in our beautiful journey, right? We're supposed to just roll with the flow, be in the moment, go in the moment, and go from there. Oh, let me grab something real quick. And so I realized through Google and pulling out some scriptures, right, that water is purification, is healing. We all know the power of, I had put a post up and women were saying, hey, when I need time for self-love, for self-care, when I need time to just catch a breath, I go to the water. So we all know the the healing power of water. But why couldn't I still not connect? Look at you drinking yours right now. How come I still couldn't make the connection? And so I want to ask you the question before I go into what I discovered. Why did you have me go with that assignment of researching what my struggle was with water?
So, me encouraging you to dig deeper into the water is because I really needed to know what connections you had that actually stopped you from wanting to partake in partake in something that you know that is very important, and what that block was. So that was my main reason for asking you. But what I find is when we do our own research, things that you didn't always see prior sometimes are open for you, and the light is shown on those things. So I'm glad you did your homework, and I'm glad of what you're going to share with us as far as your findings. But I hope I answered your question as far as.
You did, and it was I appreciate you, because no matter how many conversations I've had with you and Rick, right? Water is all my thing. I got the clean eating down, I got the fitness down, I got all that. It's the water was my thing. So as I'm going down, right, I started seeing things that water is the purifier of the soul, right? That I have to be like water, empty my mind, formless, fluid, change and grow as circumstances come. Like where I've been, the season that I'm in right now is even in this, there is still beautiful. And again, the water tie out came out with that because it was like, okay, when I'm going through the different trials and the situations, I have to flow with water, right? Just like, and just not worrying about the heavy load that I might feel. Just go with God's peace, go with God's grace, go with the comfort that comes in from trusting and believing in Him. So flow just like water. And when I started thinking about that and holding on to that, me sipping the water became a whole lot easier because now it's a mindset in that the water is truly cleansing my soul. Like when I think about each sip, that's one step further to healing, whether it's physical, spiritual, or mental, it's one step closer. And I didn't think about it before because I'm just like, oh, they say drink what, half your body weight in water. And that when you hear somebody say drink you half a body weight, like, ma'am and sir, that's a lot of water. And so you get overwhelmed, right? But when you shift your mindset, well, at least for me, that the water is symbolizing what I need to be able to satisfy my system, just as God satisfies my soul, then it's stuck. Right now, it's hard because it's like, oh, we have water again, but it's easier. But here's the thing that hit me hard, and this was the last thing that I found was that water satisfies every system and organ in our body, but the spirit of grace satisfies our soul. And that hit me because on the last day, no, during the Beautiful Society and Elite call, we ended up talking about grace, right? And how a lot of women struggle with giving ourselves the grace. And so then it was like, okay, God, what are you telling me about water and grace? What is this about? So again, I'm going digging. And I found some things to help tie into that. And I just want to share that. So again, water cleanses, it refreshes, it rejuvenates, but so does grace, right? So does grace. Grace renews our minds, it renews our body, it gives us the comfort. And so I found peace. right? And knowing that the struggle I have, other women have had of giving ourselves grace, is there a correlation between my lack of water with the lack of myself of giving myself grace? And it was like ding 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 ding, because that's what I know. I'm harder on myself than I am anybody else, right? Because you're trying to do so much for somebody else, and when things don't work out or when situations don't work out, you can't easily flow in that. So when I said to you, hey, there's a connection between grace and water, what did you think? Did you think I was crazy? Because I'm pretty sure you did. But what hit for you when I first said it?
Actually, I didn't think it was crazy because with everything we through the 1212 community, we have learned there is truly an order, and the order truly matters, and it's spiritually, mentally, and physically. So as you dove deep spiritually, you were able to connect mentally with the importance of the water. And now it makes your body easier to actually take that step to pick up water and actually drink it. Because um, if people really understood the value of water and how it's even a blessing for us to even have drinkable water, because there are over a billion people that don't have clean water to drink. So we have water freely, here. But what we find is it is so hard for people to reach for the water as opposed to the other drinks out there. So, um, so when you said grace as being connected to water, I was like, she gets it. She really gets it, because grace grace allows so much for us. Because so even with you just getting this light bulb moment, still move in that grace as you continue along your journey, because it just gets better. It gets better. So, yeah, definitely doing a spiritual approach first is highly encouraged by us.
So you talked about the getting it part and has still getting us grace. That was the first thing actually that I figured out was acceptance, right? And how our self-acceptance of us. So grace gives allows us to to accept who we are, flaws and all, right? Like the total package.
Mhm.
That's what grace does. Water adapts to any situation, because if you think when it's think of a big body of water, when it's calm, right? Nothing really happening, it's just peace. But let the storm come, it starts getting rocky, right? The waves start kicking in. So it adapts to its environment. Whereas grace helps us adapt to the environment, because we get to accept where we presently are, again, flaws and all, but we get to flow
Mhm.
in that moment and not understand. And I was like, oh my gosh, like who would have thought that? Like I'm telling you, Tip, I wish I could have been on the phone with you when was finding this, because it was like I never would have associated grace with water. So now, as I'm giving myself grace, as we give ourselves grace, we gotta act like water and go with the flow, right? And not allow it to rock us like it is. Like when Jesus is in that boat, you know what I mean? He sleep, right? And everybody else is going for it. But he had peace. And that's what this reminded me of, was like, okay, Trina, you may be in the storm. It's not even a storm. I'm there's some difficulties, right? But I know even in this, there is still beautiful. And that's where the self-acceptance came in. We've talked in the community, right, about forgiveness. And here was a good example in how Water washes away the dirt, right? It erases the footsteps when we're on the beach. The tide comes in, the steps we just took, it does. It cleanses our wounds. But so does grace, because it allows us to forgive our mistakes. Like when I'm telling y'all, I did not know. So for you, when you're thinking about, self acceptance, what tips do you have? Not self acceptance, but self forgiveness. What tips do you have from I want to come from the holistic side of things, right? Because we all know the spiritual side, but you as a health coach, what tips or things, suggestions do you have for us to be able to walk in forgiveness so that we can give ourselves the grace?
So for me, forgiveness is key because I remember my journey towards this forgiveness piece. Like one of the first things I had to attack was loving on myself. Like I had to have the self love first before everything else just kind of was purged from that. So um, let me get my thoughts together.
You good?
A second. So um, I wasn't good for nobody until I let the stuff go. All the negative thoughts that I told myself. And I had to literally walk in truth. And what is that truth? Like, um, how I got to my truth was one of the things my therapist would have me do. I couldn't just um, uh, approach a question and say, well, I don't know. I don't know, and just leave it there. Like she made me dig even further. And then as I dove deeper, that's when I would get to the truth. And then since I have already proven the truth, that's what I stood on. So for instance, let's say I was self-conscious about I don't know, my skin color. Let me just say skin color, just to
Okay.
throw that out
Yep.
there. You know, let's say that I told my therapist, well, it's, it's my skin color, and she would be like, well, why? Where does that come from? And I'm like, I don't know. So then as I approach it spiritually, that's when I saw how I was made, how God made me um, unique. And, that was my truth. Like, I was good enough for God. I,
That's
I should
good.
be enough for myself.
That's
I, you
good.
know, so that's the truth that I would stand on when the thoughts came. Oh, you aren't pretty enough. Well, my creator tells me that I am. So that's how you combat and stand in your truth. And then that's what I built upon as I gained encouragement and strength in myself. And then now I can attack those things that I did. Like, oh my gracious, I did this. Lord, please forgive me. Um, because your word tells me everything is like gone in the sea of forgetfulness. I can stand on that. You know what I'm saying? So, standing in your truth helped me personally be able to walk for in forgiveness towards myself first.
I love you. I don't even know if you realize when you said it, when you talked about the sea of forgiveness, like there's that water again, right? Like, but your work, when you talk about the thoughts, that brings me to the next thing that I found was that water is a mirror of serenity, in that water mirrors the world around it, right? It's breathtaking beauty because of the peace that it brings. But then it could be, back to that storm exercise example, not exercise, that when it gets rocky, it get rocky. But this is the thing about grace, is that grace allows us to observe our thoughts, our minds, our actions without any judgment,
Mhm.
right? It's going back to the forgiveness to see if forget back to the water again. But it's showing us that to be able to give ourselves the grace, that we have to look at what's happening or what's happened, the different mistakes that we've made,
Mhm.
and not judge ourselves. Because think about it, we judging ourselves, the neighbor next door judging ourselves, the past is judging us. Like, okay, we're in a judgment zone. It's now time to change that narrative and get in the no judgment zone, and just understand, like, if anybody's going to judge anybody, it's not going to be me,
Mhm.
right? You judge me if you want to, judge your mama, like, do all that, but I will no longer allow myself that self judgment because of my past mistakes. God forgave me,
Mhm.
right? He, the day I claimed him, the day I said, God, I'm yours, he's like, it's wiped away, right? There's that water example again, like the way it flows,
Mhm.
right? So when we think about, I want you to talk a little bit about some of the benefits of water. Like we know it, but you the health coach, right? You're the better half of Tiffany Childs. Rick, I'm only promoting that because that's what she says. That ain't necessarily the views and actions a beautiful life tonight. But I'm just but go ahead for the people that are here and like, okay, water is water. It's not. So tell me some benefits of water. So like now, okay, I got some more. I got some more, ammunition for when I don't feel like drinking the water.
So, water, just kind of see water as something that has strings attached to it. So, water affects every part of our body. So, when we're born, we are made up of like 80% water. And we actually lose water as we age. That is why it is even more important to make sure we are staying hydrated. And we just can't function without it. I mean, water is so important that we can't live without water past 3 days. 3 days, I think it's on record at least 5 to 6 maybe, but from 3 to 6 days, we will be gone without water. So, just knowing the importance of why God made us with a lot of water in us. Like, water is important. Um, it helps with our moods.
Hmm.
So how many days have we gone out, walked out the house and gone to work and go and went off on somebody?
Listen,
That could be because you're dehydrated.
you throwing bricks now.
Our bodies have a voice. So anywhere from muscle cramps, joint pain, dizziness, dry mouth, bad breath, vision problems, food cravings. Even even with fat, like getting fat out of our bodies, we can't get it out of our bodies without water. A weakened immune system, constipation, headaches. So water is very healing to the body. It flushes the toxins and the waste out through our urine, sweat, and respiration. um it's the main component of all of our organs and body parts. It helps us
Mhm.
to regulate temperature. I could go on and on and on, but water is so important. It adds to our digestion. It helps with cell reproduction. It helps us to survive. So, just in a nutshell, that is some of the main reasons why we need water to help us from being dehydrated. So, definitely always check in with your doctor to find out how much water you can consume during the course of the day. but you normally try to do half your body weight. That's the goal, to get up to half your body weight in water. And how you calculate that. So let's just say you weigh 100 pounds, half of your body weight is 50. You would drink 50 ounces of water. So um, our thing is, if you aren't there, just start small, take baby steps, just get your water in. If you struggle with water, try to just focus on eight ounces of water, being consistent with getting that, and then add on to that until you reach your goal. Um, so
So
yeah,
here's what Rick said. Can you see it when it come up? She is. You are his better half.
because he knows it.
Okay, so you talked about the whole benefits, which then gets me into actually you covered it. The next benefit or type connection with grace and water was for our self-care, right? Because water, like you mentioned, is vital for our organs. It gives us life, like all of those benefits. But then think about this. So does grace, right?
Hmm.
When we give ourselves grace, that means okay, we've got some self-care that we have to do, meaning we got to put ourselves in time out. Like, when is the last time you got still, got mindful, turned off the cell phone, and just listened for God's voice? Right? It's that whole thing. Like, do you need to be in a position of okay, now he's like the glaring red lights are coming at you because he's tried to get your attention? Or are we going to now say that we do deserve everything that we are, want to become who we are, and give us and do the self-care that we want by being intentional and getting still before anybody else in the house is up, right? So
Hmm.
that now we can hear their small voice. So when God is like, all right, time to drink up,
Hmm.
or, today you don't need to have an extra cup of coffee. Go get a bottle of water instead. Or, whatever it is, like self care is very important for us. Like, that's what Hello, My Name is Beautiful is all about. Like, yeah, we're beautiful on the outside, but the bigger battle is making sure and understanding that we are worthy of giving ourselves the self-care. Like, we cannot take care of anybody else if we are tore up from the floor up, right? It doesn't make sense. And so we just had to again release the judgment of thinking we can't get, like, oh, if I just go to the park and sit still, they're gonna be blowing my phone up because they can't find me. How you know? Right? How do we know? Why do we think that the world is going to fall apart because we decide to give ourselves us first? How do we know? We don't. Like, you tell me a time when you did something for you and the house fell apart. Did it really?
It didn't.
But we always think that that's what's going to happen. So it gets into that control, that need to control. Whereas if we think about the water and how vital and key it is for our physical nutrition, so is self care for our spiritual and our mental, right?
Yeah, and and another thing as far as water, like water that's not flowing, it gets stagnant. So, that goes along as well with your grace. Like, it is critical that we give ourselves grace, because if we don't, that's when we get stagnant and get stuck, and, not allowing, us to even accept the grace. So,
That's good, Tiff.
so that's very, very important as well.
Hold on, you gotta rewind that. That was good.
Don't ask me to repeat it. You
Like somebody recording. We're paying that when we needed a paraphrase stuff.
that's right.
But you talked about, because you're right, we will get stuck.
Yeah.
And then when we get stuck, we go into immediate shutdown mode.
And the water becomes bad. And if you even think about, um I'm not sure who, like, if even with like a car and oil changes, right? You get an oil change so that the oil isn't gooky and that the car can, flow a whole lot better. And it's the same thing as far as physical water for us. Like, we aren't drinking the water, but all of that viscosity is like in our body, in our lymphatic system, and in our blood. Everything is so much thicker, and it doesn't flow as free. So the more water you add, even baking a cake, you put the dry ingredients in the bowl, but you have to add
Mhm.
water. If it's not enough water, it isn't smooth. It's more clumper. And
Mhm.
you can apply the same thing spiritually as well. Spiritually and mentally. Like, even mentally, you aren't even flowing with ease of peace as you could. So,
There's another brick, y'all. But no, and when you um like, mental clarity is everything. When we are the same feeling, that we have when we're sitting in the water or near water, or if we can't get it, pulling up one of the apps and listening to the calm of the water. Like, just think about the peace that comes. Well, that's how your body feels when we are drinking water. Like, it's getting that. Like, okay, right? We've been out in the sun all day long, and we know when the last thing when we get a really good cold glass of water, that right, that comes over us. That's what happens. That's what grace does.
mhm,
Grace gives us that moment, because we realize, like, I don't need to carry this burden anymore. Right? So that's where this now gets into. I just love how God is flowing right now through you. Thank you again for being on A Beautiful Life. But the last one is dealing with resilience, right? So this one I really thought was interesting, because I never thought about how water shapes the earth. But over time, it creates paths, different riverways, different things. You may have a favorite spot, and one way the path may have been this wide, but then over time, the more water that takes place, now it's a little bit wider. Like, it starts transforming
mm,
earth, right? It starts changing the mountains around us, like, just the impact it does. But grace, right, does a similar thing, because when we can embrace the challenge that we're in right now, and can say, even in this, there is still beautiful, we can grow through the storm. We can grow, like we talked about it last week, growing through the storm, like
mhm,
going back to the grace in the water and just seeing it. Okay, even though we're in the thick of it, that grace, that resilience is going to keep us going. Like,
mm,
we just got to keep saying it. Even in this, there is still beautiful.
yes.
Even in this, there is still beautiful. So this, the same way that water changes the path, that's what resilience does.
Mhm,
Because if you think about, well, I was in a bad storm 2 weeks ago. I got through that. Why is this one going to be any different? I learned how to maneuver through it, right? I learned how to go with the flow or change paths, because maybe the straight path that I'm used to taking, the one that I can physically see,
Mhm.
It's blocked. I can't get there. Like when you riding in a car and all of a sudden, you hit an accident and there's no traffic moving, your navigation is going to tell you, oh, we found a faster route, detour here.
Mhm.
Think about water the same way. Lord, the child. It's the same way with water and grace. Like when we're in the path, when we're in the storm, when we're going through it, allow the resilience, allow the grace to redirect where we need to go. Sometimes, right? God may say, just sit in the mud for a minute because maybe He's been trying to get our attention, but because we won't go back to that self care, because we won't go back to the acceptance or the self forgiveness or realizing the comfort and the peace, He like, you got to get dirty today,
Mhm.
right? And getting dirty is us peeling back the layers on our beautiful and understanding, like, okay, I got to get muddy today. So now I'm going to tie my head back,
Mhm.
right? I'm going to do like you was telling when I was talking about when we were going to Mexico and you told me when we were doing the ATV and what you tell me, get a
Try to
scarf,
yeah.
tie your hair up, get a scarf, like don't wet. That's the same thing we might have to. Because when we're in our beautiful and we're working through the self acceptance, the forgiveness, working in resilience, we're going to have to get dirty sometimes because that's what's required by us in order to walk in our beautiful.
That's the beauty of it because all of it is part of the journey. So you have to get dirty. You have to get clean. You have to flow up
Mm,
sometimes. You have to flow sometimes. You have to detour. So, all of that is such a beautiful part of the journey. And, just kind of normalizing that, ebbs and flows will come and it's okay. You will be okay, you know? Um, so, yeah, I love the beauty of the journey because it looks so different for each of us. And, um, our water of grace is creating pathways for us all,
yeah.
So I'm loving my beautiful journey. I'm
Yay.
loving my beautiful journey.
It's amazing to understand, right? The that now when we're walking in our beautiful, when we are, removing the mask, that it is okay to be selfish.
Mhm.
Like selfish doesn't like self-care, self-love, walking in grace, like that now needs to be the forefront of everything we do. Because the minute, oh, she being selfish. No, I'm not.
I'm very selfish.
Right. Like, but how long did it take you to get to that point where you can say that and say it with a smile?
It took a minute, but if you continue on and do not quit, we do not quit, we finish.
There we go.
To get on the other side to that freedom, that's just a whole nother ball game of beauty. So, it's a beautiful thing that, I get to do this beautiful journey and this beautiful walk in community because it makes it so much what's the word I want to use? Um Doable, for lack of a better word, but yeah, doable. And um just having a space to to come alongside with, others that are on their journey to beautiful is nothing like it.
Mm,
Like it.
did you see what your husband put? Let me show
No,
you.
I have tuned him out. Say, now let me
Can
see.
you see?
Oh, thank you, honey.
Oh,
My beautiful every day.
yep. So I just wanted to just as water flows, just as it nourishes our body, the next time when you sit in it like I was, like, no, I cannot drink no more water today. I'm done. Come back to what Tiffany and I have shared tonight, in that now think about water from the perspective of grace and understanding, okay, you have to give yourself grace. Like, give yourself grace to work through it, to go with the flow, like to be in the moment, so that when you are in that storm, when the terrain is rough, you can still stand, get in the mud, do what you need to do, but understand that even in this, there is still beautiful, in that there is an opportunity for you to walk in your beautiful by now becoming selfish with your time, your money if you have to. Like, whatever your excuse on holding you back from putting you first, let the flow or the thought of, okay, Lord, one of these moments, I'm gonna have them on here one day too. But when the I think reflect back on the waves. So you're standing at the edge of the beach, and every time that tide comes in, you're receiving grace. Every time it goes out, you're letting go of unforgiveness. You're letting go of bitterness. You're letting go of the need to control. You're letting go of anything that's standing in your way of you walking in your beautiful. So next time y'all fuss about water, remember what we shared tonight and think about that, and just know that even in this, there is still beautiful. Tiffany, you have anything else to share? I am so grateful for you saying yes today. I know it was last minute, but I couldn't come and share my assignment and not have you on and give you your flowers for really coming to me and saying, listen, I need you to sit and dig into this and understand why you have an issue with water. And it helped me realize that my lack of desire to drink water was because of my lack of giving myself grace. So I want to thank you for that, because if you hadn't given me that assignment, I would have never gone down this journey. So
You're welcome. As an advocate for hydration, and it
you see Rick comment. Yes, Rick, you
yeah,
beautiful too.
I just want to encourage everyone to make sure you are being hydrated. But check with your doctors to make sure you can safely do so. But make sure you are um, on your hydration journey. Um, when you told me your aha moment, literally, like, tears came to my eyes, because um, it's very dear to Rick and I that we encourage hydration across the board, because it is just that important. And, as we care for our inner bodies, it will show forth outwardly. So, drink your water. If you have a problem drinking, maybe drink from a straw. Anytime that you drink, take 8 gulps. That'll help you get it down a little bit more. Um, and get a nice designated bottle or jug, whatever you want to do. Um, and let's get hydrated.
I know that's right. So I know you we talk about Rick on here. So you all are Teen Child. So why don't if you could share how people can get connected with you and Rick to get onto a healthy lifestyle journey. Because it's you guys are more than just health coaches. Like y'all are much bigger than this. I'm waiting for the wellness center so that and the cookbook
It is
and the
coming
cookbook. So,
in
if
the
you could
next
share
6
how
months.
people can get connected with either of you.
So yes, I am Tiffany Childs, the better half of Team Childs. I am a health. We are health renewal coaches. We inspire the power of choice towards health and wellness through commitment, consistency, and community by way of and using a spiritual, mental, and physical approach. We can be reached. We have a website. It's teamchilds with the s.org, teamchilds.org. All of our information are there. Just click the link and you can meet up with us. And Facebook, we're Team Childs. Instagram, The Real Team Childs. So that's how you meet us. Thank you, Katrina, for opening up your platform. And I hope that I added some value um, to your community. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so,
Thank
so proud of
you.
you. And I'm glad to be a part of your journey.
Thank you. Like I said, I can't thank you enough because it was just like, ooh, I didn't know that. Ooh, okay. I didn't put it together. But so again thankful for that. So this is the end of tonight's edition of A Beautiful Life. Thank you for joining me. You can catch the replays here now on YouTube at Hello, My Name is Beautiful as well. But if you want to continue the conversation on Beautiful, come and find us in the Beautiful Society. We are empowering each other every day. Well, most of the days. So I'm just kidding. No, every day to walk in our beautiful. So come on and join us. This concludes. Can I join? Sir. Y'all have a great evening. I got to go tend to the kids. See y'all later.
Bye bye.